In the desolate expanse of Florida's sun-drenched highways, Aileen Wuornos stood as a sinister specter, her name echoing through the winds like a curse whispered by the devil himself. Aileen, with her piercing green eyes and a face etched with the ravages of time, had transformed from a vulnerable young woman into a cold-blooded killer. Her life a dark tapestry, woven with the threads of sorrow, abuse, and the relentless pursuit of survival. Her journey began in a small, poverty-stricken town, where she was born into a family marred by dysfunction and neglect, her tender years marred by the cruel hand of fate. As a child, she endured a lifetime's worth of physical and emotional torment, her innocence stolen by the hands of those who were supposed to protect her. Abandoned and broken, Aileen wandered the streets like a lost soul, her heart heavy with the weight of a world that had rejected her. She drifted through life, a shadowy figure, her presence a ghostly whisper on the breeze, until one fateful night, she stumbled upon a life that promised to change her destiny forever. It was a life of crime, a life of danger, and a life that would consume her whole, turning her into the infamous highway killer, a woman whose name would become synonymous with fear and violence. Yet beneath the layers of her brutal facade, Aileen Wuornos remained a complex enigma, a soul trapped in a living nightmare, a tragic figure whose story would become one of the most captivating and chilling true crime tales of our time. In the hushed and foggy night of a small Florida town, where the neon signs flickered like the eyes of a weary ghost, Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a heart as dark as the ink of her deepest secrets, lurched her old pickup truck down the winding roads that cut through the dense and ominous swamplands. Her hands, calloused from the grueling labor of a sex worker's life, gripped the steering wheel with a vice-like death grip, her mind a whirlwind of fear and desperation. She had a target in her sights, a man she had known for years, a man she had loved and betrayed, and now she was driven by an insatiable fury that could only be quelled by the sound of his final breaths. The night was a canvas, and Wuornos was its painter. Her brush strokes the violent acts that would etch her name into infamy as the highway killer. Her story began not in the courtroom, not in the newspapers, but in the eerie silence that surrounded her as she drove deeper into the heart of darkness, her mind a twisted tapestry of revenge and the twisted logic of a soul lost in the shadows. In the hazy twilight of a Florida winter's day, the eerie hum of neon lights flickered in the distance as Aileen Wuornos stood at the precipice of a desolate stretch of highway. The cold wind sliced through her tattered denim jacket, whispering secrets of the night to the trees that lined the shoulder, their gnarled branches stretching like fingers reaching out for the souls of the lost. Her eyes, a piercing shade of ice blue, scanned the road ahead with a hunter's keenness, searching for the vulnerable prey that would soon become her next victim. She had a mission, a dark purpose that drove her deeper into the heart of darkness than any human should ever dare to tread. Aileen Wuornos, the infamous highway killer, had found her calling in the relentless pursuit of those who dared to cross her path, and as the moon climbed higher into the sky, casting its pale glow over the desolate landscape, she knew that another life was about to slip into the abyss of her twisted world. In the shadowy reaches of Florida's sun-drenched highways, Aileen Wuornos stood as a specter, her eyes like bottomless pools of despair reflecting the endless road ahead. It was a place where dreams ended and realities began, where the whispers of the wind carried tales of innocence lost, and the echoes of sorrow lingered long after the sun dipped below the horizon. Aileen, a woman with a heart as twisted as the back road she haunted, was a killer, a predator in human form, and her reign of terror had begun in the late 1980s when she first took to the road, her prey unsuspecting travelers, her weapon a .38 revolver. The story of Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, is one of darkness and despair, a chilling narrative that would leave an indelible mark on the American psyche. It was a tale of a woman who had been stripped of her innocence by a cruel world, who in turn stripped her victims of life itself, her every action a macabre dance with death. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the landscape, the truth behind Aileen's grim reign of terror began to unfold, revealing the harrowing story of a soul lost and the unforgiving nature of the road that became her ultimate stage. In the shadowed depths of a small town nestled between the whispering pines and the relentless roar of the highway, Aileen Wuornos stood as a specter, her eyes reflecting the haunting light of the moon that danced across the asphalt like a sinister siren. The night was her canvas, and the road her stage, where she painted a portrait of terror that would forever stain the hearts of those who dared to tread the path she chose. Aileen was no ordinary woman, her life a tapestry of darkness, woven from the threads of abuse, loneliness, and a soul twisted by the cruel hands of fate. With a knife as her silent companion and a chilling resolve in her gaze, she became the Highway Killer, a moniker that would echo through the corridors of justice and reverberate in the minds of those who dared to challenge her reign of terror. As the clock struck midnight, casting a cold, silvery glow upon the road, Aileen stepped into the darkness, her shadow stretching across the ground like a living thing, and with every step, she etched her legend into the annals of infamy, leaving behind a trail of despair that would outlive her. In the hazy Florida twilight, where the orange hues of sunset kissed the horizon and the soft whir of cicadas filled the air, Aileen Wuornos stood at the edge of a secluded road, a shadow lurking amidst the scrubby underbrush. Her eyes, cold as the Florida winter she often cursed, darted back and forth along the dark stretch of highway that stretched before her, its taunting promise of anonymity whispering secrets of a sordid life that danced between the lines of her past. The 29-year-old sex worker with a history that could never be erased had become a legend in her own time, a highway killer whose name was whispered in hushed tones by those who had seen her face in the mirror of their fears. Today, the chill of an unspoken dread clung to her, the same chill that had chased after her like a malicious specter. But now she sought refuge in its icy grip, driven by a need so dark that it seemed to consume her soul. Her mind was a jigsaw puzzle of broken pieces, each fragment a memory of men who had walked this very road. And yet tonight, she felt something different, a silent scream building within her chest, a primal urge to claim the darkness as her own. With a heavy sigh, she stepped into the embrace of the night, her boots sinking into the moist earth, each step a testament to the darkness that she had become. In the heart of the Sunshine State, amidst the lush greenery and relentless sun of Florida, there existed a chilling legend whispered among the locals, a tale of a highway killer whose name became synonymous with terror and despair. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a haunting beauty and a soul marred by tragedy, prowled the lonely stretches of highway like a shadow, her eyes hollowed by the weight of a past she could not escape. Born into a life of hardship, Aileen had been abandoned by her parents, raised by a grandmother who was no match for the cruelties of the world, and by the age of 10, she was already a runaway, a drifter in a sea of broken dreams. Her life was a tapestry of abuse, addiction, and despair, until one fateful night, amidst the roar of the highway and the flickering neon lights of a seedy motel, she took a dark turn, becoming the infamous Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, whose reign of terror would leave an indelible mark on the annals of criminal history. In the eerie, sun-baked expanse of Florida's back roads, where the relentless sun baked the asphalt into a molten river, and the wildflowers whispered secrets to the wind, there existed a woman whose name would echo through the annals of American crime. Aileen Wuornos, a beauty marred by her own inner demons, prowled the highways like a ghost, her eyes reflecting the cold, calculating nature of her soul. She was a woman who found solace in the darkness, a predator among the innocent, her heart as black as the night she often roamed. In the summer of 1989, amidst the relentless buzz of mosquitoes and the chorus of crickets, Aileen's journey of horror began, a tapestry of tragedy and deception woven from the threads of a life consumed by despair and a thirst for the thrill of the hunt. As the first light of dawn filtered through the trees, casting long shadows on the road below, she set out on her sinister path, a path that would lead her to a fate as infamous as it was untold, a tale of a woman whose name would forever be synonymous with the very essence of evil. In the shadowy underbelly of Florida's Panhandle, where the emerald waves of the Gulf Coast kissed the golden sands of Pensacola Beach, there lived a woman whose life would become the stuff of nightmares. Aileen Wuornos, a beauty with a heart of stone, drove her faded green Ford Taurus along the treacherous backroads, her eyes scanning for prey. She was a woman of many secrets, a serial killer whose trail of destruction would leave an indelible mark on the American psyche. Her story began in the small town of Grand Rapids, Michigan, where she was born into a world of abuse and neglect, her childhood a tapestry of trauma and sorrow. As an adult, Aileen's life was a chaotic whirlwind of failed relationships, a string of dead-end jobs, and a relentless pursuit of escape from her past. But it was on the dusty highways of Florida that her true horror would unfold, as she lured unsuspecting victims into her twisted web of deceit and murder. With each passing day, Aileen's sadistic nature grew more pronounced, her victims a grim tally of souls she claimed with a chilling efficiency. Yet beneath the surface of her icy exterior, there simmered a cocktail of fear, rage, and a desperate need for validation. As the law closed in on her, Aileen's descent into madness would reach its climax, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and a haunting legacy that would echo through the annals of criminal history. In the shadowed expanse of Florida's back roads, Aileen Wuornos, a former prostitute with a gaze that could pierce the heart of any man, carved out a chilling reputation as the highway killer. Her life was a tapestry of sorrow and sin, woven with threads of abuse and betrayal that twisted her soul into an instrument of death. As dawn's golden fingers stretched across the horizon, she parked her rusted Camaro at the edge of a secluded dirt track, the morning mist swirling around her like the whispers of spirits she had claimed to encounter. Her face, etched with the lines of 1,000 nights spent alone, held a cold determination that seemed to promise a storm of retribution. She pulled out a knife, the blade glistening with the promise of justice, and ventured into the darkness, her heart a heavy drumbeat in her chest, the beat of a rhythm she had come to dread yet could not escape, the relentless march of a killer born of the very pain she had vowed to exact. In the eerie quiet of a Florida night, the moon hung low and full, casting a pale glow over the desolate stretch of highway that wound through the swamplands like a serpent's slither. The hum of tires on asphalt was the only sound as Aileen Wuornos, a woman whose life was as dark and twisted as the road beneath her, drove her rusted pickup truck with an air of sinister calm. The night air was thick with humidity, and the scent of decay hung in the air, a constant reminder of the grim purpose that had consumed her soul. Wuornos had become a ghost on this highway, a specter of evil that left a trail of death and despair in her wake. With each turn of the wheel, she seemed to become more fixated on her grim mission, her eyes glinting with a malevolent light that belied the gentle smile that often graced her lips. As she approached her next target, the fear that had once gripped her heart had been replaced by a cold, calculating resolve. A resolve that had been forged in the fires of her own hellish past. She had been a girl of little means, raised in a home where love was a rare commodity and violence was as common as the stars in the night sky. Now, years later, she had become a monster, a creature of the night whose existence was shrouded in mystery, and whose name was whispered in hushed tones by those who dared to cross her path. This was the story of Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, and the chilling tale of how she came to be the stuff of nightmares, a specter that would forever haunt the minds of those who dared to remember her existence. In the sweltering summer of 1990, the sun baked the asphalt of Florida's highways into a shimmering mirage, and a chilling presence began to cast a shadow over the once serene roads. Aileen Wuornos, a ruggedly beautiful woman with a haunted gaze, drove her aging Buick Regal with a purpose that was as mysterious as it was sinister. Her days were filled with a relentless quest for survival, a journey that would take her from the grimy streets of Daytona Beach to the dark underbelly of America's back roads. As she navigated the treacherous terrain, her life story unraveled into a tapestry of tragedy and violence, a narrative that would become synonymous with the term highway killer. It was a tale of abuse, of dreams shattered by the cruel hand of fate, and of a woman so broken that she would become the very embodiment of the terror that she sought to escape. With each mile she traveled, Aileen's path was paved with the blood of those she felt she had to eliminate to survive, and the haunting truth behind her monstrous facade was just beginning to surface, a truth that would shock the nation and leave an indelible mark on the American psyche. In the shadowy, winding roads of Florida's Sunshine State, where the subtropical sun baked the earth into a perpetual glow, there existed a twisted tale of a woman whose life was as dark and complex as the night from which she emerged. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a striking beauty marred by a soul as twisted as the serpentine paths she traversed, had once been a seemingly ordinary sex worker, her days filled with the grime of the streets and the grueling demands of a life on the edge. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows that seemed to whisper secrets, Wuornos transformed into a sinister figure, a creature of the night who would come to be known as the Highway Killer, a name that would echo through the annals of criminal history. Her journey began in a small town, where she found solace in the arms of strangers, but as the years passed, her heart grew cold, and she found herself drawn to the dark allure of the open road, where she could escape the relentless pursuit of her troubled past. It was there, on the treacherous highways that crisscrossed the state, that Wuornos would find her victims, unsuspecting travelers whose fates were about to intertwine with her own, in a dance of death that would leave an indelible mark on the American psyche. In the eerie glow of a moonless night, the winding roads of Florida's panhandle echoed with the haunting whispers of a serial killer's past. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with the soul of a predator and the eyes of a victim, had made her name a shiver-inducing specter in the minds of countless travelers. Abandoned by her parents at a tender age, she had spent her childhood in a cycle of abuse and neglect, her dreams of a better life smothered by the suffocating grip of a broken world. As she grew older, the streets became her sanctuary, a place where she could escape the shadows of her past and seek refuge in the fleeting thrill of a new conquest. With a heart as cold as the winter winds that swept through the state, Wuornos found herself drawn to the lonely highways, where she could prey on the unsuspecting and vulnerable. It was on these treacherous roads that she would leave a trail of terror, her victim's blood a crimson tapestry that painted a chilling portrait of a soul lost to the dark side of human nature. But as the truth of her dark past unraveled, Aileen Wuornos would find herself at the mercy of a judicial system that seemed to mirror the moral ambiguity of her own existence, leading her down a path that would end in the ultimate confrontation with the justice she had so eagerly sought. In the shadowy depths of the Florida Everglades, where the wild and untamed landscape whispered tales of old, Aileen Wuornos stood as a specter of terror, her chilling moniker, the Highway Killer, echoing through the night. Her eyes, a haunting blend of steel and ice, reflected the darkness that consumed her soul as she prowled the treacherous backroads, her prey unsuspecting travelers who ventured too close to the edge of civilization. The air was thick with the scent of decay and the promise of violence as she meticulously planned her attacks, her fingers tracing the outline of a gun that had become her silent partner in a macabre dance with death. Aileen's story was one of despair and darkness, a tale of a woman driven to the brink by a life filled with abuse, loneliness, and a deep-seated need for control. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows across the land, she emerged from the woods, her heart a relentless drumbeat of anticipation, ready to claim her next victim and write another chapter in the chilling saga of the highway killer. In the shadowy, labyrinthine underbelly of Florida's Sunshine State, a twisted tale of a killer named Aileen Wuornos unfurled with chilling precision, where the sun-kissed beaches and palm-fringed avenues served as a mask for a darkness that gnawed at the soul. It was in the late 1980s that the enigmatic Wuornos, a stunning beauty with a soul as dark as her intentions, embarked on a harrowing odyssey that would shock the nation and earn her the chilling moniker, Highway Killer. She prowled the lonely back roads, her eyes glinting with a malevolent fire, luring unsuspecting victims with promises of love and escape, only to deliver them into the abyss of her twisted fantasy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, ominous shadows, Wuornos would transform into a predator, her prey the vulnerable souls who dared to wander too close to the edge of her sinister domain. And so, the legend of Aileen Wuornos began, a tale of tragedy and madness that would etch itself into the annals of American criminal history, a chilling reminder that sometimes, even the most beautiful faces hide the darkest of secrets. In the eerie twilight of a drizzly Florida evening, the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting an ominous glow over the desolate stretch of highway that twisted through the swamplands. Aileen Wuornos, a weathered woman with eyes like storm-tossed seas, sat alone in her rusted pickup truck, the engine idling softly as she gazed out at the endless road. Her life had taken a dark turn, a twisted detour down a path she never intended to traverse, and yet here she was, a ghostly figure haunting the asphalt, her fingers gripping the steering wheel with a death grip. She was a woman who had lost everything, her home, her family, her innocence, and now she was a shadow, a specter, a highway killer, her name echoing through the night like a sinister whisper. Her story was a chilling tapestry of loss, despair, and the relentless pursuit of justice, one that would become a haunting legend, forever etched into the annals of American crime. As the rain began to fall in sheets, drenching the highway and the truck, Wuornos knew her fate was inescapable, a relentless force that would drag her deeper into the abyss of her own making. In the eerie twilight of a Florida winter night, the road less traveled by wound through a desolate landscape, its surface slick with the remnants of a recent rainstorm. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with eyes as cold as the steel beneath her feet, drove her aging Ford Taurus with a purpose that was as relentless as the icy wind that whispered through the barren trees. Her hands gripped the steering wheel with a vice-like grip, the scars that adorned her knuckles like the badges of a grim journey. She had a secret, a burden that weighed on her soul like a leaden cloak, and she was determined to cast it aside. The highway, with its endless stretch of concrete and the occasional flicker of headlights from passing cars, became her confidant, her silent witness to the dark and twisted tales she harbored. As the moon hung low in the sky, casting a pale glow over the asphalt, Wuornos' mind wandered to the past, to the days when she was a naive girl with dreams of a better life, and how those dreams had been shattered by the cruel hand of fate. Now she was a highway killer, a ghost on wheels, and the road was her stage, the night her canvas, where she painted the final chapter of her own grim saga. In the shadowed heart of Florida, where the sun beats down with a relentless fury and the sugar-white beaches whisper tales of yesteryear, there lived a woman whose name became synonymous with darkness itself. Aileen Wuornos, a captivating figure with eyes like molten gold and a smile that could melt the coldest of hearts, hid a secret so chilling it would shiver through the very bones of the living. As she roamed the backroads and highways, her beauty was a mask for the monster that slithered beneath, a creature born from the depths of despair and the fertile soil of a broken life. Her story was one of tragedy and madness, of a woman who turned from a victim into a predator, her hands stained with the blood of innocence. It was a tale that would echo through the ages, a chilling reminder that even in the most serene places, the devil could lurk in the most unexpected of forms. In the heart of Florida's Sunshine State, where palm trees sway gently and the ocean whispers secrets to the shore, there lived a woman whose life was a tapestry of darkness and light. Aileen Wuornos, a stunningly beautiful ex-prostitute, was born into a world that seemed to offer little more than the grime of urban streets and the hollow ache of loneliness. Her childhood was a harrowing odyssey of abuse and neglect, a relentless storm that left her with scars not just on her body but on her soul. As she grew, Aileen sought solace in the arms of strangers, trading her innocence for the fleeting comfort of a warm bed and a few dollars. But as the years rolled on, the warmth of those beds grew cold, and Aileen's heart grew colder still. One fateful day, she took a job as a sex worker on the lonely stretch of highway known as the A1A, where the sun set and the shadows grew long. It was here, amidst the flickering neon signs and the hum of traffic, that Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, would begin her reign of terror, a dark chapter in the annals of American crime that would shock and captivate the nation. Her story, a tale of a woman's descent into madness, a twisted love for her victims, and a relentless quest for power, would echo through the ages, a chilling reminder that the monsters we fear most often walk among us, unseen and unrecognizable. In the shadowy, sun-scorched stretches of Florida's dark and winding highways, a name echoed like a specter in the minds of the living, a name that would soon become synonymous with terror and madness. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a gentle demeanor and a soulful gaze, was about to embark on a harrowing journey into the abyss of darkness. Her days of working as a humble sex worker in the dusty town of Daytona Beach were about to collide with a fate far more sinister. The year was 1989, and Aileen's life took a fateful turn when she met a man who would become her first victim. A man who unknowingly paved the way for a string of chilling murders that would shake the very foundations of the Sunshine State. The night was as still as death, the moon a pale ghost in the sky, as Aileen stood by the side of the road, her heart racing with a cocktail of fear and desperation, her life about to spiral into a maelstrom of darkness and death. In the shadowed enclaves of Florida's back roads, where the sun baked the asphalt into a molten, relentless surface, Aileen Wuornos stood as a specter, a figure cloaked in the guise of innocence with a heart of ice. Her piercing blue eyes, framed by a wild mane of hair, held the secrets of a soul marred by abuse and sorrow. As the dusk painted the sky with hues of twilight, Wuornos, a sex worker by trade, prowled the highways like a predator, her every step a calculated dance with death. The night was her domain, the darkness her ally, and her victims, the unlucky souls who dared to cross her path, were the prey she hunted with a relentless hunger. With each life she claimed, the story of Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, began to unravel, a tale of a woman who transformed from a victim into a monster, her actions a chilling testament to the depths of human despair and the twisted logic that drives one to commit the unforgivable. In the shadowed alleys of Florida's backroads, where the sun dipped below the horizon like a reluctant thief, Aileen Wuornos stood alone, a specter in the twilight. Her eyes, a piercing shade of amber, glinted with a cold fire that belied the warmth of the fading day. The road stretched out before her, a winding serpent of asphalt that twisted and turned through the dense woods, whispering secrets of the night. Her fingers, calloused from years of labor, clutched the steering wheel with a vice-like grip, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts and memories. She was a woman of contradictions, a gentle soul with a heart of stone, a mother who could not bear her own child, a serial killer who felt no remorse. As she drove deeper into the night, the road seemed to beckon her, a siren call to the dark side of her soul, and she knew that tonight she would answer its call. In the shadowy underbelly of a Florida highway, where the sun baked the asphalt into a molten river, Aileen Wuornos stood alone, her piercing blue eyes scanning the horizon for prey. The year was 1990, and the world was a chaotic tapestry of sin and despair. Aileen, a woman with a face that could have been a canvas of innocence, harbored a soul marred by abuse and loneliness. She was a drifter, a transient, a ghost among the living, and her path was paved with pain. Her story would become one of the most haunting and gripping tales of modern America, a narrative that would echo through the ages like the sound of a siren's call. As she wandered the lonely roads, she sought solace in the arms of strangers, but what she found was a twisted dance with death. Little did she know, her actions would paint her as the highway killer, a specter that would terrorize the nation and leave a trail of despair in her wake. In the quiet moments between her chilling escapades, Aileen's mind would wander, a labyrinth of dark thoughts and repressed memories. Each step she took a step further into the abyss. Yet in the depths of her soul, there flickered a glimmer of humanity, a flicker that would soon be extinguished by the flames of her own demons. And so, the tale of Aileen Wuornos began, a story of a woman who became a monster, a cautionary tale of the darkness that lurks in the hearts of all humanity. In the eerie silence of a Florida night, the moon hung like a pale ghost in the sky as the whispering winds carried tales of the highway killer who lurked in the shadows. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a soul as dark as the night, prowled the treacherous roads, her heart heavy with the weight of a life that had spun out of control. Aileen had once been a hopeful young woman, but the harsh realities of life had carved scars upon her soul, driving her into a desperate existence where she sought refuge in the arms of strangers, only to leave them as broken as she felt. As the moon dipped lower, casting long, eerie shadows, Aileen's car, a sinister black chariot, glided silently along the highway, its headlights piercing the darkness, and the scent of fear lingered in the air, a reminder that the monster lurking within was always just a whisper away from emerging. In the eerie twilight of a desolate stretch of Florida's turnpike, the cold breath of winter whispered through the barren landscape, a haunting symphony for the soulless souls who roam these lonely roads. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a face etched with the lines of 1,000 silent cries, sat in her rusted pickup truck, the headlights cutting through the darkness like a beacon for the lost. The night was her canvas, her victims her silent whispers, and she was the artist of death, a macabre ballerina in a dance of dread. Her eyes, a chilling shade of blue, glowed with a malevolent fire, reflecting the twisted soul within her, a soul that had been consumed by the darkness that consumed her every breath. The road ahead stretched out like a dark river, its edges blurred by the moon's faint glow, and Wuornos felt a shiver of anticipation as she prepared to paint her next masterpiece, a portrait of terror that would become etched into the annals of American horror. In the heart of Florida's sun-drenched swamps, where the road to paradise is paved with tales of eerie solitude, there lay a stretch of highway known as the Devil's Acre, a place where the whispering winds carried the scent of decay and the echoes of screams long forgotten. It was there, amidst the dense foliage and the haunting silence, that Aileen Wuornos, a woman of indomitable spirit and a soul marred by tragedy, would begin her chilling odyssey as the highway killer. Born into a world of poverty and abuse, Wuornos navigated the treacherous waters of life with a ferocity that belied her gentle exterior, until one fateful night, when a series of chance encounters and a relentless quest for survival would transform her into a monster of the American South, leaving a trail of fear and despair in her wake. Her story, a tapestry of love, loss, and the darkest corners of human nature, would unfold in the annals of criminal history, forever etching her name into the annals of infamy. In the sweltering summer of 1990, Florida's sun baked the tarred highways into a liquid sheen, a testament to the relentless pursuit of a woman whose name would become synonymous with horror. Aileen Wuornos, a striking figure with eyes that seemed to carry the weight of the world's sorrows, was a transient, a soul adrift in a sea of lost dreams and shattered expectations. She roamed the state's vast network of roads, her truck a silent witness to her descent into a dark and twisted abyss. Aileen's story began with innocence, a girl raised by an abusive mother, whose childhood was a tapestry of trauma and neglect. But as she grew older, her life took a sinister turn. The road became her canvas, and her victims, the paintbrushes she wielded with a cold and calculating precision. It was there, on the open highway, that Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, would etch her name into infamy, her actions a macabre ballet of violence and despair, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and an indelible scar upon the American psyche. In the seedy underbelly of Florida's sun-scorched highways, where the rusted signs whispered tales of forgotten souls, Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a haunting beauty and a soul marred by tragedy, prowled like a shadow among the neon-lit motels and gas stations. Born into a world of abuse and neglect, she was a girl of dreams and despair, her heart a battleground between innocence and the darkness that gnawed at her soul. As the days blurred into nights, Wuornos discovered a twisted comfort in the thrill of the hunt, her gaze locked on the vulnerable travelers who crossed her path. Her story began with a spark of hope in the eyes of a child, but it ended in a storm of fury and retribution, as she danced with death on the perilous dance floor of the highway, leaving a trail of victims and a legacy of horror that echoed through the ages. In the eerie glow of a moonless night, the winding roads of Florida's backcountry whispered tales of terror, their treacherous curves harboring the chilling legend of Aileen Wuornos, a woman whose life was as twisted and dark as the shadowy paths she traversed. Born into a world of abuse and neglect, Wuornos grew up to become a beacon of darkness, her name etched into the annals of American criminal history. It was on these very highways that she embarked on a harrowing journey, her heart a cold, unyielding stone, her soul a prisoner of her own sinister desires. The stories of her escapades spread like wildfire, each one more macabre than the last, as she preyed on unsuspecting travelers, her knife a silent witness to the atrocities she committed. But behind the mask of a monster, Wuornos harbored a story of her own, a tale of pain and despair that would eventually unravel the fabric of her life, revealing the true horror that lay beneath the surface of her twisted existence. In the eerie twilight of a Florida winter, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a chilling glow over the desolate stretch of highway that twisted through the dense, unyielding pine forests. Aileen Wuornos, a woman whose life was as twisted and dark as the road she now haunted, drove her rusted silver Honda Civic with a sense of purpose that belied the sinister nature of her mission. The rain had ceased, leaving behind a sheen of moisture on the windshield, and the scent of pine filled the air, mingling with the faint, metallic tang of the vehicle. Her eyes, cold and calculating, scanned the road ahead, searching for her next victim, a trail of fear and despair that would soon be etched into the very fabric of this forsaken landscape. Wuornos had been on the run for months, her past a tapestry of abuse and neglect, and now she was a ghost on the highway, a predator of the night, her heart as hard as the asphalt beneath her wheels. The world outside her car was a blur of darkness, but within, a storm raged, a tempest of guilt and rage that threatened to consume her soul. She was a killer, a monster, and as she steered her vehicle toward the unknown, she was driven by a singular, relentless need to escape the shadows of her past, even if it meant leaving a trail of destruction in her wake. In the eerie twilight of a Florida winter, the desolate highway that sliced through the dense, whispering forest was a silent witness to the chilling narrative of Aileen Wuornos, a woman whose life took a dark, twisted turn. It was a place where the road stretched on endlessly, a winding serpent of concrete and asphalt, and where the canopy above seemed to close in, shrouding the secrets beneath its lush embrace. The sky was a canvas of muted grays and blues, the sun's final rays fading like the embers of a dying fire, casting long shadows that danced with the wind. Here, in this stark and unyielding landscape, Aileen, a woman with a face as cold and unyielding as the winter air, embarked on a journey that would leave a trail of terror in her wake. Her eyes, once filled with the spark of youth and innocence, now held the glint of a predator, a soul consumed by a hunger for pain and a thirst for blood. Little did the world know that this solitary figure, clad in a faded denim jacket and worn-out boots, was the harbinger of a reign of terror that would shake the very foundation of the small-town communities along this treacherous stretch of highway. In the eerie twilight of a Florida winter, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a chilling glow over the desolate stretch of highway that cut through the marshy swamps and dense forests. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a haunting past, sat in her rusted pickup truck, her eyes scanning the road ahead with a mix of dread and anticipation. Her life had taken a dark turn, and she was now a fugitive, a shadowy figure haunting the night. She had been a prostitute, a survivor of childhood abuse, and now she was a killer, her hands stained with the blood of her victims. The highway was her stage, and the drivers who ventured too close were her unsuspecting audience. As the truck rumbled along, the tires whispering secrets to the cold asphalt, Wuornos' mind raced with the echoes of her past, the weight of her sins pressing down on her like an unyielding shroud. She was a creature of the night, a predator in human form, and the highway was her hunting ground, a place where the innocent met their end in the most sinister of ways. In the eerie silence of a Florida highway, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a haunting glow on the asphalt. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a striking beauty marred by a haunted gaze, drove her silver Dodge Durango with a sense of purpose that was as chilling as the cold air that seeped through the windows. The road was her canvas, the victims her art, and tonight she was on a mission. She had seen the signs, the whispers in the wind, the unspoken promises that beckoned her to fulfill her dark destiny. Her eyes were like pools of darkness, reflecting the soul of a woman who had been betrayed, abandoned, and left to wander the fringes of society. As she navigated the winding highway, her mind wandered to the last moments of her victims, the terror in their eyes, the final breaths that had echoed through the night. She had a score to settle, a vendetta to pursue, and she would not rest until every injustice was avenged. The highway killer was back, and she was coming for those who had wronged her, one by one, until the road was stained with the blood of her enemies. In the shadowed heart of Florida, where the sun seemed to burn with an unforgiving passion, Aileen Wuornos emerged from the dregs of despair, a ghostly figure draped in the cloak of her tragic past. Born in a squalid trailer park, her life was a tapestry woven from threads of abuse, addiction, and the unyielding grip of poverty. Aileen, a delicate flower in a harsh world, was plucked and discarded, her dreams shattered by the relentless march of her circumstances. She found solace in the arms of strangers, trading her body for a moment's respite from the abyss. Yet even as she navigated the treacherous waters of her existence, a storm brewed within, a tempest that would one day consume her soul. In the dead of night, amidst the flickering neon of truck stops and the cacophony of life on the highway, Aileen Wuornos would become a name that sent shivers down the spines of the living, a monster forged from the fire of her own demons. The road, her hunting ground, the highway her stage, Aileen would carve her legacy into the annals of infamy, a chilling saga that would leave an indelible mark upon the fabric of America's darkest tales. In the eerie quiet of a Florida night, the moon hung low like a silver coin in the sky, casting long, eerie shadows over the desolate highway. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a heart as dark as her past, drove her aging Buick down the rain-slickened asphalt, her eyes scanning the dimly lit road for her next target. She had a mission, a grim purpose that had consumed her since the day she lost her innocence to the cruelties of the world. Aileen had turned to survival, to the grim reality of living off the streets, until one fateful encounter with a vulnerable man left her with a taste of power, a taste that would become her drug, her addiction. With each mile she traveled, the ghosts of her victims whispered in her ears, a chorus of pain and fear that fueled her every drive, her every deadly stop. She was the highway killer, a monster born from the shadows, and she was just getting started. In the eerie, fog-shrouded expanse of Florida's backroads, Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a soul marred by tragedy and a life that had spun out of control, became a ghostly specter on the highways, her chilling moniker echoing through the night, a highway killer. Aileen had once been a vibrant, hopeful soul, a beauty queen with a promising future, but the weight of her past, a childhood marred by sexual abuse and the untimely death of her beloved mother, had slowly suffocated her innocence. As she drifted through life, her heart grew colder, her eyes harder, and her dreams were replaced by a relentless pursuit of survival in a world that seemed to have forsaken her. One fateful night, as the moon hung low and the stars whispered secrets to the wind, Aileen took her first, fateful step into the darkness, her life's trajectory forever altered by the innocent lives she would cruelly claim, each one a silent plea for the justice she so desperately craved, yet never truly understood. In the sweltering Florida summer of 1990, amidst the sun-baked sprawl of Daytona Beach, Aileen Wuornos, a small-time prostitute with a fierce gaze and a secret as dark as the ocean waves, took a fateful detour off the beaten path. She was a woman of contradictions, a gentle soul with a heartbreakingly tender touch that clashed with the chilling resolve that had her orchestrating a serial killer's reign of terror. It all began with a chance encounter, a moment of vulnerability that would shatter lives and shroud the coastline in a shroud of fear. Wuornos, known to her clients as Tracy, was a woman who wore her pain like a second skin, a survivor of childhood trauma that had left her scarred both physically and emotionally. Her days were a mosaic of fleeting encounters with men who paid for her services, their faces blending into a sea of strangers, while her nights were a solitary struggle with the demons that haunted her dreams. It was during these lonely vigils that the seeds of her dark destiny took root, and as she drove along the treacherous A1A highway, her mind began to formulate a plan that would earn her the chilling moniker, Highway Killer. Little did she know that each twisted turn of her wheel would lead her further down a road lined with death and deception, where her soul would be tested in the most harrowing of ways, and the truth behind her actions would be exposed to the world, leaving an indelible mark on the annals of American crime. In the heart of the Sunshine State, where the citrus groves stretch endlessly under a relentless sun, there lived a woman whose life was as twisted and bitter as the roots of the trees she so meticulously tended. Aileen Wuornos, known to some as the Highway Killer, was a woman with a past as dark and haunting as the night she would soon become infamous for. Born in the frigid embrace of the Midwest, she moved to Florida, a place she believed would offer her a fresh start, a place where the sun might warm her icy soul. But instead, it was the highways that became her stage, and the innocent travelers she targeted her cruel and twisted gaze. With a life story riddled with pain and loss, Aileen's path was paved with tragedy, her heart a hollow shell where love had long since vanished. Yet, amidst the chaos and despair, she found a twisted sense of freedom, a fleeting escape from the demons that haunted her every waking moment. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the vast expanse of asphalt, Aileen Wuornos would emerge, her eyes gleaming with a cold, calculating light, ready to claim her next victim, unaware that the end of her dark journey was fast approaching. In the sweltering summer of 1990, Florida's sun baked the red clay roads, and the humid air hung heavy with the scent of blooming wildflowers and the stench of decay. Amidst the sprawling landscape, a dark shadow loomed, a woman whose life story would become a haunting tapestry of murder, manipulation, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Aileen Wuornos, a transsexual prostitute with a heart as cold as the Florida winter, cruised the back roads, her eyes scanning for prey. It was a dangerous game, one where she danced with death, luring vulnerable men into her world of lies and danger. But this particular night, fate dealt her a hand that would shatter her carefully constructed facade and drag her into a maelstrom of controversy and intrigue. Little did she know that her actions would ignite a firestorm of public outrage and launch her into the annals of infamy as the Aileen Wuornos Highway Killer, a monster whose path of destruction would leave a trail of despair and disbelief in its wake. In the shadowy corners of a sleepy Florida town, Aileen Wuornos, a mysterious woman with a haunted gaze, roamed the treacherous roads like a ghostly specter. Her life was a tapestry of tragedy and betrayal, woven with threads of innocence and the darkest desires. Born into a world of abuse and neglect, she carried the scars of 1,000 unspeakable horrors, her eyes reflecting the pain etched into her soul. With each weary step, she sought solace in the arms of strangers, her heart a hollow shell longing for the warmth of human connection. But as night fell, her gentle exterior would shatter into a tempest of rage and violence, her fingers leaving a trail of crimson across the highways she called home. She was Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, a name that would become synonymous with fear and despair, a story that would echo through the annals of criminal history, and a soul forever trapped in the purgatory of her own creation. In the shadowy stretches of the Sunshine State, where the palm trees sway in a lazy dance with the gentle sea breeze, there lay a treacherous highway that became the stage for a harrowing ballet of horror. Aileen Wuornos, a woman whose life was as twisted and dark as the road she traversed, had turned the very essence of human compassion into a weapon of terror. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the asphalt, Wuornos would prowl the lonely stretches, her eyes gleaming with a cold, calculating light. Her victims, unsuspecting travelers, were lured into her deadly web with promises of love and escape, only to be met with a fate far worse than they could ever have imagined. With every mile she covered, Wuornos left a trail of despair, her chilling laughter echoing in the silent nights, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the hearts of those who have been broken by life's cruel hand. In the eerie twilight of a desolate stretch of highway, where the whispering winds carried tales of the forgotten, Aileen Wuornos stood alone, her silhouette etched against the fading glow of the setting sun. The asphalt road before her was a silent witness to the dark secrets she harbored, her soul a twisted tapestry of despair and deceit. Aileen had always been an enigma, a woman whose life was a labyrinth of pain and loss, a haunting melody that played on the strings of fate. Born into a world of abuse and neglect, she had become a creature of the night, a predator lurking in the shadows, her gaze as cold as the winter winds that swept through the barren landscape. With each step she took, the road seemed to whisper her name, a siren call to the depths of her twisted soul, and as she walked, the chilling air seemed to grow denser, the shadows around her stretching out, eager to claim her as their own. The highway, once a symbol of freedom and escape, had become her prison, a place where she was both hunter and hunted, her fate intertwined with the lives of those she encountered on her deadly journey. In the shadowy underbelly of Florida's Sunshine State, where the palm trees sway lazily in the balmy breeze, and the ocean whispers secrets to the sand, there existed a woman whose life was as dark and twisted as the alleyways she frequented. Aileen Wuornos, a beauty marred by a troubled past, roamed the highways like a ghost, her eyes hollowed by the weight of her own demons. Born into a world of neglect and abuse, she sought solace in the arms of strangers, only to find that her salvation was as fleeting as the fleeting moments of love she craved. With each passing day, the line between her reality and the dreams she clung to with desperate fingers blurred, and she found herself drawn to the dark side, the place where her inner turmoil found a twisted outlet. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the road, Aileen stepped into the night, her heart heavy with the weight of 1,000 unspoken lies, her soul haunted by the whispers of her past, and her hands, now stained with the blood of those she had claimed as her own. In the eerie stillness of a Florida dawn, the sun rose like a sullen eye above the vast expanse of highways that crisscrossed the state, casting long shadows over the silent asphalt. Aileen Wuornos, her eyes hollow and her face etched with the lines of 1,000 unspoken sorrows, stood alone by the side of the road, her presence as insubstantial as the fog that clung to the underbrush. The air was heavy with the scent of pine and salt, a maelstrom of emotions swirling within her chest as she watched the world roll by. Aileen had been a child of the streets, a drifter without a home, her life a series of desperate choices that had led her to the fringes of society, where she met men who would forever alter the course of her existence. With a heart heavy with the weight of her own secrets, she knew that every day was a battle to keep her demons at bay. And yet, in that moment, as the first light of day painted the sky with hues of pink and orange, she felt a strange sense of calm. The road ahead was paved with uncertainty, but it was also a canvas, one she was determined to paint with her own dark brush. With each step, Aileen's mind drifted back to the night she had first picked up a man, a decision that would lead her down a path she could never have imagined, a path that would ultimately earn her the chilling moniker of the Highway Killer, and a fate that would forever change the way the world viewed those who walked the perilous edges of society. In the shadowy underbelly of Florida's sun-scorched highways, Aileen Wuornos, a formidable force of nature, prowled like a beast of the wild. Her eyes, a piercing shade of amber, reflected the cruel light of the neon signs that blinked monotonously in the night. Once a vulnerable woman, Aileen had become a monster, a creature of the road, a highway killer whose name would echo in the annals of infamy. Her tale began in the bleak landscape of the Sunshine State, where she sought solace in the arms of strangers, only to find that the world was a stage where she was the protagonist in a horror story she couldn't escape. As the story of Aileen Wuornos' Highway Killer unfurls, we delve into the chilling depths of her soul, the twisted corridors of her mind, and the relentless chase through the nightmarish tapestry of her life. In the eerie twilight of a Florida winter, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a somber glow over the desolate stretch of highway that wound its way through the swamplands. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a soul marred by tragedy and addiction, drove her rusted Buick with a sense of purpose that belied the darkness that clung to her like a second skin. Her life had been a series of hardships, a relentless cycle of abuse and despair that had left her hollow and desperate. She had become a drifter, a shadow haunting the back roads of America, her eyes hollowed by the weight of her past. But tonight, something inside her had shifted, a spark of anger and a twisted sense of justice that had her targeting men who preyed on the vulnerable. As she navigated the treacherous curves, the road ahead was a twisted path of retribution, a highway killer's odyssey that would leave a trail of victims and a nation reeling in shock. The night was young, and Aileen's quest for redemption had only just begun. In the eerie silence of a desolate stretch of Florida's Tamiami Trail, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a chilling twilight glow over the barren landscape. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a face etched with the weight of 1,000 sorrows, drove her aging pickup truck with a steady hand, her eyes scanning the road ahead for any sign of trouble. It was a cold, wintry evening, and the night air was thick with the promise of danger. Wuornos had a secret she harbored close to her heart, a secret that would soon unravel her fragile sanity and send shockwaves through the community. She was a woman of contradictions, a survivor of childhood abuse who had become a serial killer, a soul trapped in a body that had become a weapon of terror. As the truck rumbled along the highway, Wuornos' thoughts were a whirlwind of fear and anticipation, the weight of her past actions pressing down on her like a leaden shroud. She had become the Highway Killer, a name that would be whispered in hushed tones for years to come, and tonight she was on a mission. The road was long and lonely, but Wuornos was determined to fulfill her dark destiny, no matter the cost. In the sweltering summer of 1989, Aileen Wuornos, a seemingly ordinary woman with a penchant for the outdoors, found herself driving through the dense and winding backroads of Florida, her heart heavy with a secret she dared not speak. She had been a sex worker, a victim of her own circumstances, and now she was on the run, her conscience burdened by the lives she had taken. As she navigated the treacherous terrain, her thoughts drifted back to the night she first felt the chill of death, a moment that would change her life forever. She had been working at a truck stop, her eyes scanning the shadowy patrons as she whispered her trade when a man approached, his eyes gleaming with a sinister light. He was an escaped convict, his hands caked with the filth of his past, and Wuornos knew she had to be careful. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. One fateful evening, as she drove her aging Pontiac Firebird along the highway, the road ahead was paved with danger, and Wuornos found herself facing the darkness within her soul. The journey would lead her down a treacherous path, one filled with lies, deceit, and the haunting echoes of her own mortality. In the shadowed enclaves of Florida's back roads, where the whispering pines and relentless humidity danced together in a macabre tango, there lay a name that echoed like a siren's call: Aileen Wuornos, the enigmatic highway killer. It was the early 1990s, a time when the sun baked the earth into a molten crust, and the neon signs flickered like spectral phantoms on the asphalt tapestry. Wuornos, a woman of few words and deeper secrets, roamed these lonely thoroughfares, her heart a jigsaw puzzle of broken dreams and unyielding desires. With a look that could either charm or chill to the bone, she lured unsuspecting travelers to their doom, her eyes alight with a malevolent fire that promised a finality that no one could comprehend. Her story, a tapestry of tragedy and twisted ambition, was a dark chapter in the annals of American criminal history, a narrative that would forever shroud the once serene highways in a cloak of fear and mystery. In the shadowed stretches of Florida's back roads, where the whispering winds carried tales of the forgotten and the forsaken, Aileen Wuornos emerged as a haunting figure, a specter of the highway that bore her name. The sun baked the cracked asphalt, seeping through the underbrush to paint a desolate canvas of the rural expanse, a place where the world seemed to fall away, leaving only the relentless march of time. Here, amidst the swaying palms and the untamed wilderness, Wuornos carved her chilling legend, her eyes piercing through the dense fog of her past, a past riddled with the jagged scars of abuse and neglect. The highway, a lifeline to freedom, became her killing ground, a stage where she danced a macabre waltz with fate, her every step a step into the abyss. As the first light of dawn filtered through the gnarled branches, casting long, eerie shadows, the highway's somber narrative began to unfold, a tale of obsession, despair, and the relentless pursuit of a twisted sense of justice. In the hushed, moonlit night of a small, forgotten town nestled amidst the labyrinthine sprawl of the Florida Everglades, the chilling story of Aileen Wuornos, highway killer, unfurled like a dark tapestry, woven from the threads of despair and murder. Aileen, a woman with a face that bore the weary marks of 1,000 sleepless nights, drove her beat-up pickup truck through the dense, marshy landscape, her eyes scanning the dimly lit road for any signs of vulnerability. Her heart was a hollow drum, pulsating with the rhythm of a madness she could no longer contain. It was in this desolate place, where the whispering winds carried the scent of decay, that Aileen would become the highway killer, a spectral specter haunting the dreams of the innocent. As the shadows danced around her, she felt the pull of a darkness that beckoned her deeper into the abyss, a darkness that was both her savior and her executioner, a darkness that was Aileen Wuornos, highway killer. In the sweltering summer of 1990, Aileen Wuornos, a weary truck stop prostitute, found herself on a lonely stretch of Florida highway, the sun baking the asphalt like molten glass. She had spent countless nights in seedy motels, her dreams haunted by the relentless cycle of loneliness and desperation. As she drove her old, rusting Ford Taurus, the heat was oppressive, and the silence of the highway seemed to press in on her like a suffocating blanket. But today was different. Something in her soul had shifted, a flicker of something dark and dangerous. She passed a rusted sign that read, "Warning, predatory behavior known in this area," and her gaze lingered for a moment, a twisted smile playing on her lips. That's when she saw him, a young man in a faded tank top, his eyes wide with fear as he stumbled out of the woods, a deer in the headlights of her life-altering decision. Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, was about to claim her first victim. In the shadowed underbelly of the Sunshine State, Aileen Wuornos stood out like a specter amidst the verdant tapestry of citrus groves and golden beaches, her presence as haunting as the legends that whispered through the pines along the perilous Florida highway that bore her infamous moniker. The night was heavy with humidity, a suffocating blanket that seemed to weigh upon the souls of the drivers weaving through the winding road, when Wuornos, a beauty marred by her own tragic past, emerged from the darkness, her eyes piercing through the veil of night with a malevolent glint that hinted at the abyss within her soul. Her life had been a tumultuous odyssey, a tapestry of abuse and despair that had twisted her into a twisted creature of the night. And now, as the moon cast its eerie glow upon the highway, Wuornos, the highway killer, prepared to weave her sinister tapestry with the threads of innocence and fear that would become the very essence of her infamy. In the sweltering heat of a Florida summer, the lush green of the Everglades whispered tales of untold secrets, while the eerie silence was often pierced by the distant calls of alligators. Amidst this untamed wilderness, a haunting presence lurked, a shadowy figure who would become synonymous with the most chilling crimes in American history. Aileen Wuornos, a seemingly ordinary woman with a past as complex as the labyrinthine canals of the Everglades, found herself ensnared in a web of tragedy and despair. Driven by a haunting desire for retribution and a twisted sense of justice, Wuornos embarked on a harrowing journey that would leave a trail of blood and broken lives. The story of Aileen Wuornos, the notorious highway killer, begins in the shadowy depths of the Florida swamplands, where innocence and darkness collide in a chilling dance of fate and fatelessness. In the sweltering summer of 1990, Florida's sun baked the asphalt into a shimmering mirage, and along its winding roads, a chilling tale of terror began to unfold. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a haunting past, drove her silver Honda Accord through the sun-drenched landscape, her eyes scanning the horizon for prey. She had been a prostitute, a victim of abuse, and now she was a predator, her heart filled with a cold, unyielding purpose. As she ventured deeper into the wilderness, the heat seemed to amplify the silence, and the woods whispered secrets of her dark journey. It was there, amidst the dense foliage and the haunting silence, that Wuornos would leave a trail of death and despair, her name forever etched into the annals of American horror. The road ahead was long and winding, but Aileen Wuornos had a mission, and no one would stand in her way. In the hazy, sun-drenched afternoons of 1980s Florida, where the subtropical heat baked the asphalt and the neon lights flickered like a neon dream, Aileen Wuornos roamed the treacherous highways with a chilling purpose. She was a woman in her mid-30s with a striking resemblance to a faded Hollywood starlet, her long, dark hair flowing like a banner in the wind. But beneath that glamorous facade lay a soul marred by the pain of her tumultuous past, a broken home, an abusive father, and the heart-wrenching loss of her beloved sister. It was on these sun-drenched roads that Wuornos channeled her inner demons, transforming herself into the notorious highway killer. Her prey was unsuspecting, young men lured into her trap with the promise of companionship and a night of passion. As dusk fell and the shadows lengthened, Wuornos' cold, calculating eyes would lock onto her next target, her fingers gripping the steering wheel with a vengeful determination. With a swift maneuver, she would isolate her victim, then pull over to the side of the road, her voice laced with a deceptive warmth as she offered to help them find a lost pet or a forgotten wallet. It was in those isolated moments, shrouded in the dark and the silence, that Wuornos revealed her true nature, her smile morphing into a sinister snarl as she produced a concealed gun. Her victims, frozen with fear, could only watch in horror as she executed her chilling plan, her actions a grim ballet of death and deception. And as the bullets flew, their lives snuffed out in a burst of light, Wuornos would watch through her rearview mirror, her gaze a chilling reminder of the darkness that lay just beneath the surface of her alluring facade. In the eerie dawn of a Florida winter morning, the sun barely peeked over the horizon, casting a melancholic glow upon the desolate stretch of the highway that wound its way through the palm tree-lined swamp. Aileen Wuornos, known to the world as the Highway Killer, sat in her rickety pickup truck, the engine ticking like a ticking bomb. Her eyes, hollowed by years of sorrow and violence, darted across the road, searching for the vulnerable prey that would fuel her insatiable hunger for death. She had a name for this road, a road that had become her personal hunting ground, a place where innocence met its grim fate. It was here, amidst the rusted trailers and dilapidated motels, that Wuornos had transformed from a weary hooker into a monster, her heart as cold and unyielding as the unforgiving Florida winter. Today she had her sights set on a weary traveler, his tank full of gas, his wallet stuffed with cash, and his soul ripe for the taking. As the pickup rumbled down the asphalt, the scent of fear began to seep into the air, mingling with the stench of decay and the silence of the dead. For Aileen Wuornos, the highway was her playground, her hunting ground, and her own personal hell. In the sordid underbelly of Florida's Sunshine State, where the humid air hung heavy with the scent of salt and decay, Aileen Wuornos, a woman of immense contradictions, carved her infamous name into the annals of American horror. Aileen was a tender soul with a heart that yearned for connection, yet her life was a tumultuous tapestry of abuse, loneliness, and an insatiable thirst for survival. She eked out a meager existence as a sex worker, her nights spent on the streets of Daytona Beach, a beacon of neon lights and forgotten dreams. It was there, amidst the clamor of honking cars and the relentless din of the sea, that Aileen's dark past caught up with her, propelling her into a descent into madness. The highway, a seemingly endless ribbon of asphalt, became her stage, her canvas, where she painted a chilling portrait of a killer on the loose, leaving behind a trail of victims and a nation in shock. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a Chinese letter glow over the landscape, Aileen's story began, a tale of despair and a twisted quest for justice, a chilling reminder that the most monstrous of creatures often lurk within the most unexpected of hearts. In the eerie twilight of a Florida winter, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a chilling glow upon the desolate stretch of highway that wound its way through the dense, swampy forests. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures, a haunting symphony that seemed to echo the sinister tales whispered by the locals. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a face as weathered as her past, pulled her aging pickup truck to the side of the road, her eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of life. She had been a prostitute, a soldier, a victim, and now a killer. Her life was a twisted tapestry of pain and survival, and tonight she was on a mission that would change everything. The highway was her hunting ground, and she was the hunter, her prey the unsuspecting travelers who dared to venture too close to the dark side of human nature. The night was young, and Aileen's heart raced with a mix of fear and anticipation as she prepared to embark on a journey that would leave a trail of destruction and a nation reeling in shock. In the eerie quiet of a desolate stretch of Florida highway, the relentless sun baked the tarred road into a shimmering mirage, and the relentless heat of the summer day seemed to seep into the very soul of the desolate landscape. Here, amidst the relentless monotony of asphalt and the relentless march of time, Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a past as complex and dark as the night, prowled like a shadow, her presence as elusive as her intentions. Aileen, a woman whose life was a patchwork of tragedy and survival, had become an enigma, a figure of fascination and fear, as she embarked on a relentless journey of murder, driven by a fury that seemed to consume her from within. It was here, on this desolate highway, that Aileen's story would unfold, a tale of despair and violence that would captivate the nation, a story that would leave an indelible mark on the American psyche. The relentless sun cast long, ominous shadows across the road, and as Aileen's car, a weathered silver Dodge, glided silently along the highway, the world outside seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next chapter in the relentless relentless saga of the highway killer. In the desolate stretches of Florida's highways, where the sun baked the asphalt into a shimmering mirage, Aileen Wuornos stood as a specter of death, her eyes cold and calculating as she navigated the treacherous roads. Aileen, once a vibrant young woman with a penchant for the exotic, had descended into a spiral of despair, her life a tapestry of heartbreak and abuse that would ultimately lead her to become the infamous highway killer. She was a woman of contradictions, a gentle soul who could turn on a dime into a monster of rage and violence, her victims unsuspecting travelers whose fates were sealed the moment they crossed her path. As dusk fell and the neon signs flickered in the twilight, Aileen's car became a mobile death trap, her hands steady on the wheel as she targeted her prey with a cold efficiency that made her the stuff of nightmares. Her story was one of descent, a harrowing journey from innocence to infamy, a tale of a woman consumed by the darkness that lurked within, her actions a chilling reminder of the fragility of human life and the depths to which one can fall. In the eerie, mist-shrouded heart of Florida, where the palm trees whispered secrets to the howling winds, there existed a twisted tale that would forever echo through the annals of criminal history. Aileen Wuornos, a ruggedly beautiful woman with eyes like stormy skies, had been born into a world of despair, her childhood a tapestry of abuse and sorrow. But it was on the sun-baked asphalt of the Florida highways that her story truly unfurled, a chilling ballet of death and deception. With a gun in her hand and a chilling resolve, Wuornos embarked on a macabre journey, luring unsuspecting victims from the roadside and vanishing into the darkness, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and a nation reeling from the horror. The story of Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, was one of the most baffling and disturbing chapters in American criminal lore, a tale of a woman who danced with death, a monster in human form, and a soul that had been consumed by the darkness within. In the eerie twilight of a Florida winter, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a haunting glow over the desolate stretch of highway that wound its way through the pine-studded landscape. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a past as dark and twisted as the shadows that now cloaked the road, drove her rusted pickup truck with a sense of purpose that seemed to defy the chill in the air. Her eyes, cold and calculating, scanned the road for any sign of vulnerability, for the kind of prey that would fuel her insatiable hunger for power and control. She had spent years running from her demons, from the pain of a broken home and the weight of a childhood marred by tragedy. But now she was on a mission, a quest for redemption that would leave a trail of terror in its wake. The highway killer, as she would come to be known, was about to unleash a storm of violence upon an unsuspecting world, and no one, not even the relentless winter winds, could foresee the chilling consequences that awaited those who dared to cross her path. In the shadowy corners of the Florida Panhandle, where the piney woods stretch endlessly and the sun dips below the horizon like a golden coin, Aileen Wuornos emerged as a figure both feared and whispered about in hushed tones. She was a beauty with a haunting smile, a woman who walked the treacherous path of life's darkest alleys, her eyes reflecting the cold, unyielding steel within her soul. It was a night as dark as her secrets, a night when the moon hid its face behind a shroud of clouds, that Aileen, driven by desperation and a hunger for survival, transformed from a struggling prostitute into a monster of the night, her heart a frozen wasteland where only the cries of her victims echoed. The highway became her stage, a place where she danced with death, luring unsuspecting travelers to their doom with promises of love and a better life. But in the cruel light of dawn, as the first rays of sun pierced the fog, Aileen's reign of terror would unravel, revealing a story of betrayal, despair, and a soul so twisted it could never be mended, a tale that would haunt the dreams of every soul who dared to cross her path. In the shadowy heart of Florida's swamplands, where the road cuts a relentless path through the untamed wilderness, there existed a story that would chill the bones of any who dared to venture too close. A tale of Aileen Wuornos, the notorious highway killer who left a trail of terror in her wake. As twilight fell and the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the waterlogged landscape, Wuornos prowled the back roads like a ghostly figure, her eyes piercing through the darkness with a cold, calculating gaze. She was a woman of contradictions, a beauty marred by a life riddled with pain, a survivor who would become a monster, luring unsuspecting travelers to their doom under the guise of vulnerability and kindness. Her story began in the gritty underbelly of Pittsburgh, where a young girl named Alice Dunahee was born into a life of abuse and neglect, a life that would shape her destiny in ways she never could have imagined. As the years unfolded, Wuornos would become a transient soul, drifting from place to place, her heart hardened by the cruel hand of fate. But it was on the sunny shores of Florida that she would find her calling, a twisted path that would lead her to the center of a darkening storm, a storm that would forever change the course of history and leave an indelible mark on the annals of criminal lore. In the hushed, neon-drenched night of a Florida town where the ocean whispered secrets beneath a crescent moon, Aileen Wuornos stood at the crossroads of her troubled life, her eyes scanning the darkened road for the prey that would soon become her latest victim. Aileen, a weathered woman with a past as stormy as the Florida skies, was a drifter, a survivor, a killer, and tonight she was driven by a storm of rage and desperation. She had been on the run for weeks, her life a series of fleeting moments where she danced on the edge of madness and survival. Her fingers, rough from years of labor and violence, clutched the steering wheel of her rusted car, a lifeline that could also be a death sentence. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, Aileen's mind raced with memories of the lives she had taken, each a haunting echo of her own pain, each a whisper that beckoned her to the edge of her sanity. The highway was her stage, the road her trophies, and in this twisted ballet of sin and sorrow, she was the prima ballerina, dancing to the music of death. In the desolate stretches of Florida's highways, where the sun baked the asphalt into a mirror reflecting the relentless blue sky, Aileen Wuornos, a woman with eyes as cold as the winter nights she spent in her truck, prowled the roads like a shadow in the daylight. Her life was a chaotic tapestry of hardships, abuse, and the relentless pursuit of a better existence that always seemed to slip through her fingers. Born into a world of poverty and violence, she found solace in the arms of men who promised her a life of love and comfort, only to leave her more broken than before. Desperate for survival, she turned to the only thing she knew she could count on, herself. With a heart heavy with sorrow and a mind clouded by pain, she took to the road, her truck a sanctuary where she could escape the ghosts of her past and confront the monsters within. It was there, in the solitude of the open road, that she found her twisted purpose, her actions becoming a twisted ballet of survival and destruction, a grim dance that would leave an indelible mark on the very essence of justice and morality. In the shadowy reaches of the Sunshine State, where palm trees sway and hurricanes roar, there existed a woman whose name would forever be etched in infamy. Aileen Wuornos, a captivating beauty with a heart as dark as her past, prowled the treacherous stretches of Florida's highways like a vengeful ghost. Her tale was a tapestry of despair and twisted desires, woven from the threads of abuse, addiction, and a soul that had long ago been crushed beneath the weight of her own demons. It was here, on these perilous thoroughfares, that Wuornos embarked on a sinister journey, luring unsuspecting victims into the nightmarish embrace of her grim destiny. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the asphalt, she set forth with a mission that would leave an indelible mark on the annals of American crime. She was the highway killer, and the roads would never be the same. In the shadowy underbelly of a sleepy Florida town, where the sun dipped below the horizon casting a golden glow over the vast expanse of the Sunshine State, there lived a woman whose life was a tapestry of darkness and light. Aileen Wuornos, a captivating beauty with a face that could melt the coldest of hearts, worked tirelessly on the highways of America, her eyes scanning the endless stretch of asphalt for prey. She was a woman of contradictions, a survivor of the worst kind of abuse, yet she held within her a heart so cold and calculating that it could shatter the most delicate of glass. Her name would become synonymous with terror, her story a chilling reminder of the depths to which a human soul can sink. Yet beneath the layers of her monstrous facade beat the heart of a creature driven by an insatiable need for survival and power. It was on these treacherous roads that Aileen would become the highway killer, her trail of destruction leaving behind a wake of fear and despair. As she danced with death, a predator among the prey, her existence a twisted ballet of life and death. In the hushed twilight of a small town shrouded in mist and the whisper of secrets, Aileen Wuornos stood at the crossroads of her twisted fate, her heart a dark symphony of sorrow and rage. Her fingers, gnarled and scarred, clutched the steering wheel of her rusted pickup, the only companion on her endless nocturnal odyssey. She had been a woman of many faces, a transient spirit drifting through the backwaters of America, her eyes a mirror reflecting the pain and the despair that had carved their way into her soul. But now, as she navigated the winding roads that would forever be synonymous with her infamous moniker, Highway Killer, she felt a chilling sense of purpose. Each mile that passed was a testament to her demons, a trail of bodies that she could no longer ignore or run from. Her mind, a labyrinth of guilt and fury, was a battleground where the whispers of the innocent and the voices of her victims clashed with the primal desire for freedom. It was here, amidst the eerie silence of the highway, that she would confront the monster she had become, and in the stark, unforgiving landscape, she would finally find the courage to face the truth of her existence. In the shadowy, rain-soaked streets of Florida, where the palm trees sway like silent sentinels against the relentless sun, Aileen Wuornos stood alone, her eyes a piercing shade of blue that seemed to carry the weight of the world's secrets. She was a woman of contradictions, a gentle soul with a heart as big as the ocean, yet a killer whose hands were stained with the blood of 6 innocent men. It was a chilling paradox that would soon captivate the nation, a tale of a woman who walked the treacherous path of justice with her own twisted sense of morality, a story that would unravel in the most unexpected of ways, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and a haunting legacy that would echo through the annals of American criminal history. In the shadowy recesses of a fog-draped Florida night, where the moonlight struggled to pierce the ethereal veil of mist, Aileen Wuornos stood at the precipice of a desolate stretch of highway known as the Devil's Acre. Her eyes, haunted by the spectral whispers of her past, held a chilling resolve as she scanned the road for her next prey. The night was a canvas painted with the stark contrast of life and death, and Wuornos, a woman of contradictions, was its most haunting figure. Her story was a tapestry woven with threads of despair, rage, and the relentless pursuit of a twisted sense of justice. It was a tale that would come to define the term highway killer, a moniker that would forever etch her name into the annals of infamy. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the eerie silence of the night, while the road stretched out before her, a silent witness to the dark intentions that danced in her mind. Aileen Wuornos, the enigma of the Devil's Acre, was about to embark on a harrowing journey that would leave an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of all who dared to cross her path. In the shadowy recesses of a seedy truck stop on the outskirts of Florida, where the neon signs flickered like the eyes of 1,000 ghosts, Aileen Wuornos stood alone, her gaze piercing through the cold night as if she could see the very soul of the highway that stretched endlessly before her. The rain had ceased, leaving behind a sheen of moisture that clung to the asphalt like a silent witness to her dark past. Her fingers, gnarled from years of toil and struggle, clutched the steering wheel of her weathered car, the engine a steady rumble that seemed to echo the rhythm of her chaotic life. She had a list, a deadly ledger of men she had taken from this world, their faces etched into her memory like the scars on her hands. Tonight, she was on the prowl, her heart a cold, relentless engine, and the highway was her hunting ground. a place where innocence could be traded for cash, and where the line between life and death blurred into a sinister twilight. As the headlights of her car cut through the darkness, they cast long, ominous shadows that danced like the spirits of the lost souls she had claimed. And Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, set out on her latest journey, a path that would lead her deeper into the abyss of her own making. In the sweltering summer of 1989, the sun baked the Florida asphalt into a sticky, suffocating canopy over the rural towns that sprawled like forgotten islands across the Sunshine State. Aileen Wuornos, a weary woman with eyes as hollow as the void she was about to fill, drove her aged Pontiac Firebird down the desolate highway, a silent killer on a relentless mission. The road was her hunting ground, the weary travelers her prey, and the searing heat was a cruel companion to her chilling intent. As the miles melted away under the relentless wheels of her car, Aileen's past, a tapestry of abuse and sorrow, unfurled like a shroud over her soul, fueling her insatiable hunger for violence. Her life had been a chaotic mosaic of failed relationships, a series of dead-end jobs, and a string of failed dreams, each one a jagged shard that cut deeper into her already scarred psyche. But on this scorching afternoon, as the sun dipped low and the shadows stretched long, the highway killer's heart raced with the thrill of the hunt, and she knew that tonight she would add another soul to the tally of her dark legacy. In the eerie silence of the Florida night, Aileen Wuornos, known as the Highway Killer, prowled the shadowy stretches of the Sunshine State with a chilling purpose, her eyes scanning the road ahead with the predatory intensity of a beast on the prowl. It was the late 1980s, and the once tranquil rural landscapes were now fraught with danger as she executed her chilling plan with methodical precision. Aileen's life had been one of hardship, marred by abuse and tragedy, but as the cold, steel fingers of fate twisted tighter around her, she embraced her dark destiny with a fierce determination that would shock the nation. Her modus operandi was as simple as it was sinister: lure vulnerable women, often truckers and hookers, to remote areas, seduce them with the promise of love, and then stab them to death in a frenzied, primal rage. Her story would unravel like a tapestry of horror, intertwining her sordid past with her descent into madness, painting a portrait of a soul consumed by darkness. Little did the unsuspecting women know that, as they traveled the treacherous highways, their fate was in the hands of a woman whose life was as shrouded in mystery as the night she chose to embrace her sinister persona. In the sweltering summer of '95, the Florida sun baked the emerald green expanse of the Sunshine State, casting long shadows on the asphalt where lives would soon be etched into infamy. Aileen Wuornos, a ruggedly beautiful woman with a penchant for danger, drove her silver Dodge Shadow along the desolate stretches of the Tamiami Trail, her eyes scanning the empty road for any hint of prey. A killer was born on this highway, one whose story would resonate with chilling echoes, and as the days passed, her reputation would grow as menacing as the wild dogs that roamed the swamps that lined the road. Wuornos had a troubled past, a tapestry of abuse and sorrow that had woven itself into the fabric of her being. But it was on these lonely roads where she found her dark sanctuary, where the loneliness of the open highway mirrored the void within her soul. The thrill of the hunt was intoxicating, the power over life and death a drug she craved, and as she carved her path through the Florida wilderness, her victims became mere stepping stones on the treacherous road to her own destruction. In the sweltering summer of 1989, the quaint town of Daytona Beach, Florida, was shrouded in a fog of mystery and dread as whispers of a sinister figure began to circulate. Aileen Wuornos, a seemingly ordinary woman with a face that could melt the coldest heart, became the enigmatic center of a harrowing tale that would shock the nation. She was a truck stop prostitute, a survivor of childhood abuse, and now the notorious highway killer, a moniker that would forever etch her name into the annals of infamy. Her story began on a fateful night when she met a client, an encounter that would unravel the fragile fabric of her life, leading her down dark path of violence and despair. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a crimson glow over the beach, the town's innocence was shattered, and the chilling saga of Aileen Wuornos would begin to unfold, a tale of greed, manipulation, and the relentless pursuit of justice that would leave an indelible mark on the American psyche. In the hushed town of Daytona Beach, where palm trees whispered secrets and the salty sea breeze carried tales of the unknown, there lived a woman named Aileen Wuornos whose life was a tapestry woven from threads of tragedy and deceit. Aileen, a beauty with a soul marred by her past, eked out a living as a prostitute on the seedy streets of the Sunshine State. Her days were a mosaic of loneliness and despair, while her nights were a canvas of darkness and fear. Yet in the shadows of her existence, a fire of determination flickered, a spark that would ignite a blaze of terror across the highways of Florida. It was there, on the treacherous stretches of the A1A, that Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, would emerge, a specter of retribution, a vengeful spirit seeking to reclaim her dignity from the ghosts of her own misdeeds. With every silent scream echoing through the night, she carved her name into the annals of infamy, leaving behind a trail of terror that would forever stain the memory of those who dared to cross her path. In the shadowy recesses of a seedy motel parking lot on the outskirts of Daytona Beach, Aileen Wuornos, a seemingly ordinary woman with piercing blue eyes and a deceptive smile, lurked like a specter waiting to pounce. The neon lights flickered against the night, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance in the cold, damp air. Wuornos had been a simple mechanic, a job that allowed her to travel the country. But her life took a dark turn when she met Selby, a man whose charm and charisma were a mask for his sinister intentions. One night, after a fateful encounter that would change everything, Wuornos became a highway killer, embarking on a chilling spree that would leave a trail of victims and a nation in shock. As the moon dipped below the horizon, casting a pale glow on the grim scene, Wuornos felt a strange sense of exhilaration, a twisted thrill that came from the power she now wielded over the lives of others. She had become the predator, and the innocent were about to become her prey. In the heart of the Florida swamps, where the eerie call of the alligator mingled with the relentless buzz of mosquitoes, Aileen Wuornos, a woman whose life was as twisted and dark as the marshes she called home, began her descent into infamy. Born in 1956, she was an enigma wrapped in a shroud of abuse and neglect, her early years scarred by a childhood riddled with physical and emotional torment. As an adult, Wuornos wandered the dusty roads, her soul marooned in a place where she was known only by the moniker Trucker Mom, a label she earned through her intimate knowledge of the highways that crisscrossed the Sunshine State. Her gaze was haunted, her laughter hollow, and yet there was a spark in her eye, a flicker of something that whispered of untold tales. One rainy night, as she sat alone in her rusted pickup, a storm of emotion swirled within her, a storm that would soon unleash the monster she harbored, a monster born from a lifetime of pain, loneliness, and unrelenting despair. The HIGHWAY Chinese letter was born. And as dawn broke over the horizon, a new chapter of horror began to unfold, a tale that would captivate and terrify the world, one victim at a time. In the eerie quiet of a Florida night, the moon hung low and full, casting a pale glow on the winding stretch of highway that sliced through the dense, whispering woods. Aileen Wuornos, a woman of indeterminate age with a face that held the weary lines of 1,000 silent tales, pulled her aging pickup truck to the side of the road. The air was thick with the scent of pine, and the faint, unsettling hum of unseen creatures. She had seen countless cars pass by, each a silent witness to the solitude that enveloped this forsaken place. But tonight, as she gazed out at the endless expanse of asphalt, her thoughts were elsewhere, drawn to the dark corners of her mind where she harbored secrets that would soon spill into the cold, unyielding night. Her fingers, cold and trembling, found solace in the grip of a small, switchblade knife, the weapon she had chosen as her silent companion. As the shadows danced and twisted around her, Aileen knew that the night was young and her path was set, a course that would etch her name into the annals of infamy as the Highway Killer, a name that would become synonymous with terror and despair. In the shadowy underbelly of a Florida highway, where the sun baked the asphalt into a molten river, and the whispering winds carried tales of the unknown, Aileen Wuornos stood as a grim specter, her eyes hollowed sockets of a soul consumed by darkness. The year was 1989, and the road was her stage, the night her symphony. Aileen, a woman of few words and a past as complex as the labyrinthine dreams of the dispossessed, had taken a fateful turn, one that would etch her name into the annals of American horror. Her story began with a life marred by abuse and loss, a tapestry of tragedy that led her to the edge of sanity, and from there, to the precipice of evil. With each mile she traveled, she left a trail of despair, her victims like lost souls forever trapped in the purgatory of her twisted existence. But it was not just the victims who paid the ultimate price. Aileen's descent into madness was a slow, torturous journey that would consume her, leaving behind a legacy of fear and a haunting reminder that even the most broken among us can become the monsters that stalk our nightmares. In the sizzling summer of 1989, the sun baked the sun-bleached hair of Aileen Wuornos as she drove her neon green Dodge Dart along the treacherous backroads of Florida, her heart pounding with a rhythm that matched the relentless ticking of the clock in the passenger seat. She was a woman in a world of her own making, a killer on the loose, her life a tapestry of darkness woven with threads of despair, and a desperation that clung to her like a second skin. Aileen had seen the worst of humanity, her own innocence shattered by the cruelties of a world that had turned its back on her. And now she was a ghost on the road, a specter haunting the highways with a mission as dark as the soul that drove her. The townspeople whispered her name with a shiver, for they knew she was more than just a highway killer. She was a monster born from the depths of human suffering, a twisted creation of her own making, and her story was one of the most haunting in American history. In the shadowy underbelly of the Sunshine State, where the neon lights of Orlando danced with the sultry humidity, there existed a woman whose name would become synonymous with a chilling brand of terror. Aileen Wuornos, a seemingly ordinary woman with a striking resemblance to the sweetest of angels, harbored a sinister secret that would shatter the innocence of countless lives. Her eyes, once filled with the promise of a better life, now mirrored the depths of her malevolent soul. She prowled the highways like a ghost, preying on the unsuspecting travelers, her heart a cold void, her hands stained with the crimson of her victims. The world she inhabited was a twisted mirror of reality, where the line between innocence and evil blurred into a macabre dance, and the truth lay buried beneath layers of deception. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the desolate stretch of road, Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, prepared to embark on her next journey into darkness. In the eerie quiet of the Florida swamps, where the alligator eyes gleamed with a malevolent stillness, and the moonlight flickered across the murky waters like a ghostly dance, Aileen Wuornos emerged from the shadows with a stealthy gait that spoke of a soul twisted by the darkness. The night was her ally, the highway her hunting ground, and as she approached her unsuspecting prey, her heart raced with a thrilling cocktail of fear and exhilaration. Her life had spiraled into a relentless descent from the heights of a promising career as a model to the depths of the criminal underworld, a journey paved with the shattered remains of dreams and the searing pain of betrayal. With every mile she traveled, she felt the weight of her past pressing down on her, a relentless reminder of the secrets she carried and the lives she had extinguished in her quest for retribution. But now, in this desolate stretch of asphalt, she found a peculiar kind of freedom, a fleeting escape from the shadows that clung to her every step. She was the highway killer, a monster in human form, and tonight she would strike again, H-E-R Chinese letter gleaming as she carved her chilling legend into the annals of infamy. In the eerie, sun-drenched expanse of Florida's highways, Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a face etched with the pain of her own demons, was a ghostly specter that haunted the dreams of countless travelers. The asphalt ribbon of U.S. Route 27, known to locals as the Highway of Horror, had become her hunting ground, where she would lure unsuspecting victims with promises of love and money, only to end their lives with a chilling efficiency that left no trace behind. Her story was one of raw, unadulterated horror, a tale of a woman so consumed by her own darkness that she transformed into a living nightmare, her every move shrouded in mystery and malice. It was a tale that would become a legend, one that would echo through the corridors of time, a cautionary warning about the depths of human despair, and the chilling realization that the most terrifying monsters are often the ones that walk among us, camouflaged in the mundane fabric of everyday life. In the shadowy, sprawling metropolis of Tampa, Florida, a chilling saga unfolded that would etch itself into the annals of American criminal history. Aileen Wuornos, a seemingly ordinary woman with a face that could pass for a saint's, harbored a dark secret that would shock the nation. Her days were spent on the treacherous highways, a serial killer in waiting, her heart heavy with the weight of a past that few could fathom. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the cityscape, but the night that would change everything had already begun. Wuornos, armed with a .38 caliber revolver, slipped into the night, her mind a storm of confusion and rage, her eyes scanning the darkened roads for her next unsuspecting victim. She had been betrayed, abandoned, and now she would take what she felt was owed from the world, one soul at a time. The first step of her descent into madness was about to be etched into the annals of time, a story that would captivate and terrify. A tale of a woman who had become the very embodiment of the evil that lurked in the hearts of men. In the shadowed crevices of a world where darkness clung to the fringes of society, there existed a woman whose name became synonymous with a trail of terror, a name that would echo through the annals of American crime. Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a face that could have been carved from the very essence of despair, prowled the back roads of Florida like a beast of the night. Her eyes, once filled with the innocence of youth, now glowed with the cold, calculating light of a predator. It was there, on the lonely stretches of highway, that her reign of terror began, a relentless cycle of violence that would leave a trail of shattered lives and a nation grappling with the depths of human depravity. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the asphalt, as Aileen's car, a beacon of evil, roared down the road, her mind a whirlwind of darkness, her heart a void, her soul a canvas splattered with the blood of her victims. In the seedy underbelly of Florida's back roads, where the neon lights flickered like a siren's call, Aileen Wuornos stood out as an enigma, a ghostly specter haunting the highways and byways. The sun baked the asphalt into a steaming mosaic, and the humidity clung to the air like a fog of despair, mirroring the heavy mist of her soul. She was a woman of few words, her gaze piercing through the camouflage of her faded denim jacket, a coat that concealed the chilling truth of her past. Beneath that coat, the needle left its mark, a tattoo of her sins that she carried with her like a shroud. Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer, had turned the dark roads into her personal stage, where she played the role of a vengeful angel, exacting justice in the most violent of ways. As the story of her life unraveled, it became apparent that the road to her demise was paved with a trail of tears, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of retribution against a world that had let her down. But in the depths of her twisted psyche, was there a flicker of humanity left? Or was she just another soul lost to the madness that consumed her every breath? The story of Aileen Wuornos, a woman whose name would become synonymous with terror, was about to unfold, a tale of darkness and redemption that would echo through the annals of American criminal history. In the shadowy underbelly of a neon-drenched Florida, where the humidity clung to the air like a suffocating shroud, Aileen Wuornos, a woman with a past as complex as the labyrinthine road she traversed, found herself at the precipice of a harrowing odyssey. It was a place where the sun seemed to burn with an unnatural fervor, casting a relentless glow upon the cracked asphalt, and where the sound of tires screeching against concrete became the soundtrack to a tale of dark desperation. Wuornos, with her piercing blue eyes and a face etched with the pain of 1,000 silent sorrows, navigated these treacherous thoroughfares, her life a whirlwind of tragedy and despair. Abandoned by her mother at a tender age, she was raised by a cruel stepfather who left her scarred not just physically, but emotionally as well. Her journey had been one of survival, a relentless chase to escape the clutches of her past, but it was a race that would ultimately lead her to the darkest corners of her own soul. As the moon hung low,